Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to a beautiful, beautiful sunshiny blue day. We've got one day left. Tomorrow is your last day of school. So today hopefully is going to be a little shorter. Yesterday was a little bit long and I'm sorry about that, but I was really excited to share all that information with you about the homestead strike. So in the news though, if you're interested, today about, let's see, what is it, about 1:30 p.m. I think, double check the time, I'm including it in the link for the show notes, but the American Space Agency, NASA, is combining with the private agency SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's company, to send astronauts into space in America for the first time. So American astronauts going up to space, on American rockets and things like that. This is happening for the first time since 2011, so since the end of the space shuttle program. Since then, we've been sending everybody up in Russian rockets, basically buying a ticket on the Russian rockets to go up to the space station. And this is also the first time that SpaceX has been sending astronauts up. They've sent up plenty of rockets and landed them, which is fantastic. So we're moving in a new direction, new enterprises, new developments. This is launching from Florida this afternoon, and you can tune in to the launch live. It'll start well before the launch time, like 4 hours before the launch time. They're probably starting to talk about the stuff right now if you tune in, but it won't be till after lunch that they'll actually be launching. Okay, let's see. Today's lesson, we're going to talk about immigration. So more than 12 million immigrants made their first stop in America at Ellis Island in New York. New York Harbor inside of the Statue of Liberty. They'd come over on ships. And during the 1800s, late 1880s, they were coming more and more and more. And a lot of these immigrants were fleeing from Europe from hard times. Either they were fleeing from religious persecution, or they were escaping extreme poverty. There was famine going on in various places. They were trying to, there's racial persecution and economic opportunity. Some of them were just saying, you know what, my country doesn't have a lot of opportunities, and I hear good things about what's going on in America. And you hear these great rags to riches stories of somebody who came over and they had like $1.50 with them, and somehow by working their way up with $1.50 and some ingenuity and hard work, they were able to bring themselves up to a comfortable living and provide for their family. And that's harder and harder these days. We don't see quite the same opportunities that we saw back then, but we're working on it. Don't give up hope. All right, so we have had a number of phases of immigration surges throughout U.S. history. Of course, you've heard about the Mayflower and everybody coming over then when we were developing colonies, but then we have other peaks and valleys of when there are more immigrants and less immigrants. And it all depends on what's going on around the world. What's going on in other countries is what drives people that are looking for new opportunities and choose to move to a new country, because that's a big deal. I mean, we think about these astronauts or our space program, and if we get to the point of colonizing the moon or colonizing an asteroid, the people that decide to go out there and live out there for the rest of their lives are going to be making some serious decisions based on what they have at home versus what opportunities they see out there. Though during the industrial era of the 1880s to the early 1920s, there were a lot of immigrants, especially from Southern and Eastern Europe. They were looking for opportunities, and these are a lot of the same reasons people seek immigration now. Unfortunately, the large surges of immigration also are accompanied by large surges of people that are U.S. citizens being uncomfortable with it. Now, it doesn't matter if these people's families were immigrants themselves. By the time you're a U.S. citizen, you're established, and somebody else is coming over for those same opportunities, people tend to get uncomfortable. People tend to think that these outsiders are taking something away from them. And we passed a number of laws, and there was a lot of racial discrimination for whoever that new incomer was. So if it was a surge of German immigrants back in early American times, there was racial discrimination against them. If there were Irish, there was racial discrimination against them. Just about every country, with maybe the exception of the English, has experienced some type of racial discrimination when they were the surge of immigrants. One example of this was the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We had so many Chinese immigrants coming over, we actually put a law into place to say, hey, we need to have less Chinese immigrants. And on the East Coast, we had the major port of entry was Ellis Island, which I talked about there. On the West Coast, the major point of entry was Angel Island. And if you ever get a chance to go out there, out by San Francisco Way, there is an island that is called Angel Island, and it's been used for a number of things throughout the years, but you can take a ferry over, you can take a tour on it, and I'm including in the show notes a link to take a virtual tour of Angel Island. Well, there's a virtual tour of Angel Island and Ellis Island, so you can explore both of them. But that is where people would come for immigrating to the United States if they were coming to the West Coast. And it was a different experience. So on the East Coast, Ellis Island, they're processing you through. You might get through in about 2 hours. They're mainly keeping a record of what your name is and where you came from, and checking to see if you had any health problems, like major health problems, like looking for a pandemic kind of health problems. They were trying to filter out people that might be hazardous in that way. On the West Coast, Angel Island, though, they're looking for trying to find an excuse for why you might be a political danger, or why you might be just really looking for excuses for why not to let you in. So a lot of people were deported from Angel Island, sent back to Asia because they were subject to the Chinese Exclusion Act or some other means of keeping out a certain number of immigrants. There is still so much more to explore about this. This is a whole unit. I'm all wrapping it up in just one lesson here, but I'm going to include links for virtual tours from both the two sides of immigration. Try checking out your own family history. I remember in high school, one of my teachers in history gave this as an assignment, said go talk to your family about where your family came from. And that was the first time that I really had any idea where my family came from. I thought, okay, well, we're white, so we came from white places, right? I had no idea. So I talked to my family and learned about, well, we have a little bit from England, we have a little bit from Germany, we have a little bit from Wales, we have a little bit from Sweden, and these are things that are interesting. And while they don't really necessarily mean anything to you now, because maybe you don't have a family tradition that comes from those places, it is definitely interesting to understand how we are all a mix of things. Now, maybe you're Native American and your family immigrated to North America 10,000, 20,000 years ago. Even then, you came from somewhere else. I mean, we've got to the point that we can take DNA tracing and mitochondrial DNA tracking to find when your family would have come to the North American continent and how far back your family goes, and even where that was mixed with other racial lineages. But for everybody else who came in modern times, you probably are a mix of a little bit of European and a little bit of African and a little bit of do a DNA test, you even find you have a little bit of Neanderthal in there, but that's science. We're getting too far into science for now. Back to U.S. history. So have this conversation with your family and see if you can identify a little bit about your background of where your name comes from and what's in your family history. All right, your goals for the day. Log into Schoology, get your attendance taken. We're still taking attendance. We'll do that tomorrow too. Make sure you log in for attendance tomorrow. The question of the day, I'm going to post this as an assignment. What is your immigrant history? Have that conversation with your family. I'll make a document for you to fill out. I'd love it if you turned it in just so I know that you were doing it, but I don't want to invade your privacy. I really believe that is a family thing, and I'm not going to require you to tell me exactly where you came from, but I'm encouraging you to explore that, and I'm giving you a tool or two or three to do that with your family. And maybe that'd be a good quarantine project for you guys over the summer. Well, there isn't a lot of other things to do. You can look into where your family came from. Tomorrow is your last day of school. It is also the checkbook return day for you 8th graders. You're going to go to school, you're going to turn in your textbook, you're going to pick up your yearbook, your shoes you left in the PE locker, your band instrument that you got left behind, anything like that. Check your times for when you go, because not everybody's going at the same time. I will post a video and some final thoughts for the year tomorrow, so please tune in for the video. I'm not going to make a new assignment, but I do want you to watch the video. I would like to say goodbye, because this is this is perhaps the last time you'll watch one of my videos. So I think that's it for the day. All right, have a good day, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Talk to you soon.